Another episode, very special episode, because we have our brother
Yes.
here with us, a special guest. I can't wait to get into this conversation. It's a lot to talk about, a lot to tackle.
Yes.
A lot of topics to go over. So I think it's an important conversation we're gonna have tonight. But a very, very necessary conversation to have.
Definitely. I'm excited to be able to talk about a bunch of things. This individual that we have here on the show today, known him for over a decade now, met in college, but has gone on to do some really, really incredible things. You may not recognize him with his new dude. But if you, I'm gonna put the clip on here. You know the dude that's in the middle like this.
Oh, cry.
Fly like an angel, fly like an angel. That is him. So been able to do some incredible things in the music entertainment industry. And so we got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into it.
So I don't want to go into a question, but more so like give us your background and how we all met. Since she started.
Take us back.
Yes.
Take us back. So it all started in 2011. Well, you was already there.
I was.
You weren't there.
I wasn't there. No.
2011. I'm coming from Chicago. I don't know how I ended up at Eastern. Like literally, like they definitely was giving me the most scholarship money. So that's literally, I think, the only reason why I went there. Brittany was like one of the first people that I met. So you weren't the first. You weren't the first black, but you were probably like the third though. So we went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. That was my first introduction to white culture.
Oh my!
And like being immersed in it. Like I knew white people and everything, but like literally, we in that thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a different, and we need to definitely talk about surviving Eastern for sure. But yeah, so we were the first. I was the third black person you met on.
Yes, but we met in the music building during Angels of Harmony gospel choir rehearsal. We used to rehearse on Thursday nights. Yeah. 6 to 9:30 or something. Super long, but that's where we met, and like literally from the time we met, we just got tight. Like always in each other's rooms, working on music. This is when I wasn't going outside like that.
Steve wasn't about that.
I wasn't kicking it.
Steve was an RA.
Y'all wouldn't know. If you know him today,
he was an RA.
You would 1,000% not believe he was who he was at that time. If we was about to drink, turn up, even just watch Glee. All right, y'all.
I had to get up out of there.
He didn't want to get in trouble.
I had to get up out of there. That was a different time.
It was.
That was a different time. But literally, like all through Eastern, like we was running the Philly streets.
For sure.
Outside, music this, church that, playing wherever. Like,
how'd you get into the music department? Because she said that she did some gospel.
So the thing that people don't understand when it comes to like being in a music education system is that, especially when you go to a predominantly white institution, is that it's the classical version of music. And as typically black culture, unless you go to a performing arts school, you're taught by a professor that was taught by somebody who might not really even have the full music acumen to teach you the details of it, right? I did music in high school, all 4 years of high school, but it was like, all right, we on the drum line. Yes, I was on the drum line.
I was on drum line too. That was probably another reload.
That's but it's like we were taught the music from somebody who just played it. So like if you think about the movie Drumline and how Devin couldn't read music, that's how I was actually taught at school though. Like in a program, they taught you by showing you. And so when you go to these colleges, what I didn't know at the time is that they're looking for somebody who can do Ave Maria. Like you're supposed to, you know, come in and do your opera or whatever, your classical rendition. And I came in there singing James Fortune. Like the song,
churchy as jazz.
The song says, "Raising that child all by yourself." All right.
I don't know that.
The first line.
I don't even know that song.
Bro, I feel like I sang the Lord's Prayer.
But at least it's close.
That is definitely close.
And it's a Christian university, so the fact that you sing a hymn, they're like, oh, he might know the Lord. I'm singing James Fortune thinking this is a gospel song, so they should be fine with this, right? And so, yeah, like the provisional aspect of getting into it is based off of like, either they need more people to be in the program, and definitely people that look like us. Because I think at that period of time, there might have been like maybe 2 or 3 Black people, Black students in that department. And so it was really, they needed us, 1, and 2, you know, you're kind of giving us a provisional opportunity to be a part of it without saying you suck or you're not right or you don't know what to do. The whole point of me being here in my eyes is for you to teach me that.
Right.
So I was in on a provisional entrance.
Let me ask y'all this though, because y'all both have this in common. Y'all are PKs, especially you. So especially because he has a whole church. You know what I'm saying?
People just think my church is my dad's church. It's not.
Right, completely different. But y'all kind of grew up. I grew up churchy too, but not in the church like y'all. So, what was that transition like? Growing up in the church, and then what kind of effects you see that now in your adult life?
Like in college or like today?
Like, okay, let's take from example of when you had to go to church as a child and stuff like that, and now being an adult, what have you seen change in like either your not religion, but more so like relationship with God?
Yeah.
For me, I feel like it's definitely more in a less traditional approach. A lot of things growing up you see in church are made up, literally. You know what I'm saying? Like not having any biblical substance or like not based in anything like of what we're at the core of what we're supposed to believe. It's like pomp and circumstance. So it's like, you know, a lot of that I've kind of left by the wayside, and really started to experience like personal relationship, like we were saying. And that's so much of a difference because you're carrying that throughout your entire day, you know, throughout your thought process, through your mind. Like it's different than just showing up for service or showing up for Bible class. And, you know what I'm saying? What it used to be. Yeah,
it did seem like routine when you're waking up like, I'm going to church because my parents are going to church, but I don't know why I'm going.
Yeah, I think for me, my relationship with spirituality and church in particular, at present day, like he said, like you grow up and it's just stuff that you start doing monotonously because that's what I've always done. And so I go to church for me, the Sabbath, on Saturday because that's what I was told to do. And so going to college, when you first get that first vibe of freedom, it's like, well, if I ain't gotta go, I never got an option to not go. So this is my moment to choose to be there or choose to not be there. And then if you're in music like us, where you're like serving at a church or you're hired at a church, because I feel like serving and being hired are 2 different things too. You can choose to serve where you're hired. You can serve where you're hired, but I think sometimes I've been in plenty of situations where I just work here. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I'm not in all. I'm gonna give you my best. Like I'm not gonna like half-ass it, but you're gonna understand that I'm here to work. And I think when you get into that aspect of music and church, it can become also routine because I'm only actually here to get my check. I have been in plenty of situations where I've left the church because I done got to the point where I'm literally only showing up for my money.
Mm.
And I don't want church to feel like that. And so as an adult now, it's kind of like reframing how you see the Bible itself. That's where I'm at right now, and learning from a more modern, I don't want to say a modern standpoint, but utilizing what's in the Word and making it make sense to my today. And I think growing up as a pastor's child, you're just fed all the information from the Bible, but it's never made applicable to your life. And so I just feel like I can quote all day. I can tell you story after story after story. I know how the story goes. I know how the story ends, but I can't tell you why that matters for me. I can't tell you how to apply it to your life. And so I would say right now I'm in a place with, it's kind of like unlearning and relearning and understanding in a place where it allows God to speak to you today through something that you feel like you've been reading. I literally feel like I ain't never read the Bible my whole life now.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, y'all started, I guess, music in church though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where y'all got y'all love for it, so to speak. Because how do you get to Eastern out of all places?
Out of all places, literally.
How do you get to Eastern's campus where it's a private Christian college, y'all? It's a private Christian college. How the heck do you get
It's
there?
literally God. So speaking of my dad being a pastor, so he didn't become a pastor till I was like 10. So prior to that, he was a deacon, you know, at our former church. And it's even interesting, you know, just as a child seeing your father evolve and progress, you know what I'm saying? So I never thought of him as a pastor, you know what I'm saying? But seeing him in that role, you know, that, you know, we switched denominations. So we grew up, our first church was Baptist, but we ended up going to an Advent Christian church. So basically that denomination is just about the second coming, pretty much.
The second
Same thing, different color. Like what we said earlier, like it's one God. But so at the time, this is a new denomination that we're part of. So it's a whole infrastructure at the time. So they actually have ties with Eastern. So that's the only way we knew about Eastern. So literally that's how they told us you should go visit. We set up a campus tour. We flew out there that day, had some scholarship money. You know, I was in a leadership fellows program.
I'm the only nigga sitting here that didn't have no money from this place.
You were making too much money.
I wasn't making a dime.
I was rolling in
But
the
you
dough.
came from a really, really, I wouldn't say high class family, but y'all were making great money as a family.
Danny Ray is rich, okay?
Listen,
You know what I'm saying?
Fast Food will tell you everything
They are
you know
rich.
about your parents. The stuff that you never knew about your parents, you learn from Fast Food.
That's a fact, because I looked at Fast Food, I said, wow,
Wow.
we have been getting by. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'm trying to figure out why nobody ever gave me no money. But
Literally.
so you now have scholarships. Both of y'all actually were very well off in college from a financial aid standpoint of being in the receiving posture to be able
That's
to
the only
get
reason
something.
I was there. Literally.
I'm about to say, how many, I'm trying to think how much in loans I had to actually pay. Because Eastern was like, what, 40,000?
35.
35? Okay. By the time we left, it was
I was
40,000.
about to say.
It's
A
like
year.
39.
Well, was it a year or something? No, it was a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Christ.
I had about 90% of that in grants.
Right.
So we thank the Lord for that. But
I got $1,000 scholarship my last semester.
that's crazy. Lord Jesus.
It's been 5 years.
First of all, it's just crazy just like ending up there, like, and that being the start of like everything. Cause I came there wanting to be a dentist. So I'm like a pre-biology major, or claiming it, cause I ain't had no bio classes or nothing at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a dentist. But then like talking to one of my advisors, she was just like, if you don't enjoy the work getting up to the profession, you're not gonna enjoy it.
Mm.
And I'm like literally writing my college personal statements, like all the essays you gotta write for college. I'm like, yes, I want to be a dentist, but I love music. I love singing in the like in my spare time. Like, they're like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because at the time it was just like, music wasn't a viable option. Like, it's not something that people grow up to do.
For sure.
You know, I never saw that. I never saw, you know, outside of church or working at a school, you know, I never saw anybody do it like mainstream, you know. So it was never even an option. I was looking for safety. I was looking for security. And granted, I was looking at that, but my parents in my ear too. Like, you, first of all, you going to school.
Right.
Like,
so what did they say when you told them you was majoring in music?
Are you sure? You sure that's what you want to do? Because they ain't seen nobody do it either. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is a music degree? You know, what can you do?
They be trying,
you know? We actually don't know to this day.
What do you think? Well, that's really wild.
Because you really don't need a degree, to do music. I'm personally blessed. Like, literally.
They scamming. No, like, that's not okay.
Well, the truth of the matter is, like, when you, like, from a music degree standpoint, it's like, I say the first time I ever used any of that information was this past February.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
At the Grammy.
Well, we're gonna get to that because
our gatekeeper.
I'm crying.
Gatekeeper.
All right, so let's transition to.
Well, you definitely just asked about how we both got to Eastern. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Well, you.
Said.
But we need to move on from Eastern.
But I think that is a very pivotal point of even us sitting in this room. You know what I'm saying?
It is. I don't know how. All right, so we can all talk about how we got to Eastern.
Yeah, like you got there too.
Let's
do the Brittany and Steve show. This is like you got there too. Like if it wasn't for like that is the central. That is what brings this group together. Like if we don't go to Eastern, we don't even get married. We don't have a family. We don't have our son. Like Eastern is still responsible for that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just, meeting one of my closest friends, my best friend, just because we were black as hell.
So how did you get there then?
Oh, I got there because my mama took me to a college fair. And he was the first person that talked to me. And I'm like, my parents would be so pleased if I go to a Christian university. We've been well with the church. And yeah, I think once I visited, like honestly, truth be told, like it was really a God move. Like when you come into talking like, okay, where am I supposed to go? And I was on my way, and my family has been traveling my whole life. My mom is from Nashville, so we take a lot of road trips. And I have never seen this before in my life. My parents have never seen it. And when we were on the way up there was literally an 18-wheeler that drove by that said, "Eastern is the way." And I'm like, did y'all see it?
It sounds cliche as hell.
But it wasn't branded by the school. Like it wasn't like it was the school logo and all that. Like it was just a random truck that said Eastern is the way. And then on the way back, after I did the audition, after I did all the stuff, on the way back, another truck with the same thing, same look, everything, still not branded by the school. Eastern is the way. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. So I just took that as this is what I'm supposed to be. And I doubted that decision for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That couldn't have been the Lord. For real, for years. Like I thought I was wrong. I definitely didn't hear him until I met him. Like until I met him and we moved here in 2016. Like this was past college. Like it literally took probably like 5 to 10 years for me to realize like, okay, Eastern was the way for something that I wouldn't see today. But something I wouldn't see my freshman year, my sophomore year. I didn't meet this dude until I was 2.5 years into school. So that's how I got there.
Well, let me talk about that because how I got there was very conventional, I guess. Because when I got out of high school, I applied to damn near everywhere, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get into some college, and all the colleges that I wanted to get into, I didn't get into because I was gonna try to walk on as far as basketball wise. So I do a year at University of Baltimore, and that entire year that was just like a hustle year. I was getting up at 6 a.m. Hitting a bus and going to the city. And it was really just to get my grades high so I would look attractive to any school I do apply to. And I'm a third generation of Eastern, so just so y'all know, I was avoiding Eastern at all costs.
I know you was.
What? I was avoiding Eastern so much, and I knew Sherelle was there, my sister. She was already there, and she was an RA. And I went down there throughout the summer and stayed with her for like 2 days or something like that in Dome. And Dome was hotter than hell. I'm like, I don't want to.
Definitely the oldest.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to come here. Why would I come here? And she told me about the basketball team there. She was like, I could probably play basketball. And I was like, huh? They got a basketball team? So she was like, yeah, here's the coach's number and stuff like that. So I hit the coach up, told him, hey, this is my background. I went to high school in Baltimore City, and I told him in high school. He said, "Well, I already know you're good enough to play here if you went there." And I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, I'll walk on. I don't care about scholarship or anything like that, but I'll walk on. And he said, well, we'll work you out, and if you're good enough, if we like you, you can play.
Then he turns around and becomes 1,000-point scorer.
I'm crying.
If we like you, you can play.
No, I came there with a whole goal to kill, so it was a whole different situation. But that's how I got to Eastern. And then I met you, my second semester of my first year there. She thought I was a freshman. I wasn't a freshman. And I had to try her in the elevator. She tried it.
Everybody thought me and Steve were dating for
definitely did.
I'm crying.
They definitely thought we
people
was
that went to the school didn't go to the school. Like we sing together. So yes, we take pictures together every time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's obviously he's a nigga all over my page. So they're like, this must be her dude. And I'm like, this is just my friend. We can't be friends taking pictures. Then I met Malcolm, and you remember that day Steve walked in on us one time, and I know that sounds crazy, but we weren't doing anything. It was like the second day that we had even been talking. And Steve, as normal,
I'm just pulling up to the room.
Bust into the room like, hey, ooh.
I exited so fast. I'm like, ooh, I'm so sorry.
We were literally just sitting there having a conversation. It was our first talk, like in real life. And this nigga Steve come busting at you. I'm like, hey, what's
see y'all later.
That was the vibe. And so I think it's interesting because, you have two female best friends, and then it's like, what's the vibe like when a nigga comes and infiltrates? Like, because, obviously you care for us as your friends that are female and you a dude. So it's like, how do you do the vetting process as your female friends are now starting to date, and now Mary's about to get married in a couple months.
Yeah. So,
like, what is that like from your perspective?
I feel like for me, I'm all about relationship and all about establishing my own relationship outside of, y'all. So I feel like, with Malcolm and with Sheldon, like, just really, talking to them for myself, really seeing where they head at, what the goal is, what the vision is, going through that process. I feel like that helps me get an understanding outside of y'all, and even helps it make sense to me, like the dynamic. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
that can work.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It's the balance there. I see the balance.
This might end up, perhaps.
No facts.
No, I appreciate it.
Now Caden's here.
Yes,
number two, bacon. Bacon.
G2 was out of here.
So let's talk about like when we got out of college, because you originally from Chicago, and you pretty much uproot everything and go to LA. What was that transition like, going to LA from Philly and being from Chicago to now flying?
So let me just say, when I first went to Philly, I'm like, what is this? Like, this ain't Chicago, like, y'all, like, but when I tell you I love Philly, like, I love the food, I love the slang, I love the city. The street's small, but I still love it.
The street's small.
But no, that was my first time, like, outside of my city, and that was the first time I feel like my worldview was expanded. It's like, oh, the world is bigger than your backyard. The world is bigger than your hood or your street, so that began to open my mind, and then having experiences, and then transitioning to, me graduating, me moving back home. When I moved back home, it really started. I don't know if y'all can agree, but after graduation, it was like, woo, I knew I wasn't going back to school. I know you did, but
I did, but I only went to school to take one for y'all. I'm
like, yeah, you did, because I was like, no, there's no way I'm going back. And after that, it just felt like my life started over. It was like, well, I ain't really tied down to nothing right now. I'm not, going back to school. It's like, I know I want to do music. So I was in Chicago doing Uber, working at the church full time over all the music, really starting to get my feet in the Chicago music scene, making my way around the open mics, R&B scene and everything.
You had a band.
Did have a band at the time, Peace Band. Shout out to my boys. Shout out to Calvin. We literally started that. And speaking of Calvin, when I first graduated, I came back home. We met at a homie studio, and he was like, yeah, bro, I'm finna move to LA. I'm like, gee, that's dope. Like, go ahead and do that. He's like, yeah, you should come with me. Because he's out there he plays drums and he was trying to get on tours with artists and everything. And we asked me to come with him. I'm like, bro, I'm not going to LA.
That's crazy.
Never had been to LA, never had, just never been, never even saw that in my world. But he's like, yeah, you should come with me. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But after that, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, some personal family things happen with my sister and her pregnancy and having my nephew. And at the time, that kind of took me back. I'm like, okay, I want to help with the fam and everything. I want to, stand looking for jobs and everything, and just having a conversation with my family, with my parents. My dad was like, that little money you bringing in the house ain't finna do nothing. So you might as well go ahead.
Shout out to Big Steve.
No, for real. Shout out to him and shout out to both of them, because I just be like, dang, like it was really just in the moment. He was like, if you don't go, like you can't do what I taught you, what I put into you. So it's like, if I'm getting that push, it's like, bet, might as well go. So literally, hop on a flight on a Tuesday, Southwest, $41.
Dang.
Fly to LA.
This nigga got a flight for $41 to LA. Never.
With all my bags.
For you to be there.
I think I had like $2K, $2,500. Like, that's it.
$1 in a dream.
Literally, Calvin came to pick me up from the airport.
So he was already there?
He was already there at the time. So
how long?
And what the crazy part about it is, where we stayed, his parents lived there when they stayed in LA.
The spot we came to?
Yes, the first spot.
Yes.
First spot.
The one that actually looked like
the Dune.
Yeah, it was getting Dune. So that's where they stayed. So he was out there scoping it already and ended up finding that. So I came and we had a place to stay. And I'm just like, thank God for like provision, because in my 22-year-old mind, I'm not thinking of like, nigga, you gotta like provide for yourself. Like, I'm thinking I'm gonna go down there and do a few auditions, like 2 weeks tops, 3 weeks. I'm finna be doing something. Something finna come through. Nope, absolutely not. Like, had to hit the ground running, finding jobs. Like, I lived in a predominantly Hispanic area, so a lot of them like, you don't speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? You're not bilingual. So it was just like finding a job was so hard. And at the same time, I didn't know anybody on the LA music scene at all. Like, not a soul. So I'm like having to get out here and like hit open mics, perform, and like, get my face out there. And just going through that process, meeting people, understanding people. People are weird, people are interesting. Just like, and just, just coming from a place of like, yeah, you don't know me. Yeah, I'm here to do what I do. Maybe I don't look like, at the time, what you think like a performer or artist should look like. So even with that already had me like, oh, I can't rock with a lot of y'all like that, because it's like, yeah, you treat me one way when you first meet me, then I get up on stage, I do my thing, energy different as soon as I come on. Like, that's corny. What was the energy? It's like a hey, what's up? My name's Steve. Nice to meet you. You like, okay. And it's like that energy, like, you know what I'm saying, very short, but and people ain't gotta, go over the top, but the energy that you bring, and then when somebody give you a response like that, like, I'll never say hey to your ass again.
This is after they heard you sing?
No,
so that's before.
He gets up and
then get off.
Oh, he fired.
And then they change.
Yes, like
they try to treat you a little bit. Okay, I got
just be regular. Now, that hasn't been my whole experience, and I found my tribe and my community there. But it's definitely an interesting process. Just, it's more mental than anything.
I was gonna ask you too, like, cause you moved a year before me. Well, I didn't move to LA, but Atlanta. And I remember talking to you like, yo, bro, what's the transition really like? And like, when you're talking about relocating to somewhere that you've never been, you don't know anybody, like, what would you say to somebody about that process in regards to, because I had the same mindset, like, because I knew people in Atlanta. I'm like, oh, niggas about to put me on.
Yeah.
I'm about to have me a gig. I'm about to be cool, like, whatever. I couldn't get any work for a long, like to the point where if I got one gig, if you ask me how much I charge, I gotta charge you at least $500. I don't know when the next one comes. I gotta charge you $500. I might be ass that day.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely charging you $500. I'm definitely getting the check and I'm definitely moving forward. You know what I'm saying? So like, what would you say in regards to, like, do you feel like people when they move to a place to do something entertainment wise that we can move from an entitled space of like,
absolutely,
I know I'm late.
An entitled space from that vantage point, but also from just a living standpoint. Like people can't start over. Like nigga, I was in a 1-bedroom sharing it with Cal. Like I'm in the living room, like bed in the living room, like no Wi-Fi, like you know what I'm saying, like thugging it, like and a lot. And not to say that you have to go through that, but if you ain't got the bread and you trying to do something, then it's like, okay, something got to give, you know. And so
can't have it all.
You can't, you know. And so I feel like, you know, people are, and understandably so, but people are afraid to start at zero, or at least be seen at not having.
And what's funny about that, just that phrase in general, is like you're afraid to be seen not having, when the people who, like, who would know that? Who would know that you were sleeping on a deflated airbag? Who would know that? You know what I'm saying? But it's like that's the premise of like why we will or won't do something, or I don't want to be seen like that. It's like, nigga, if that's how you feeling, you're definitely not bringing nobody over here. So how would they know?
Right.
Unless I'm out here saying, hello everybody, this is how I'm living. Because I definitely did too much moving out here. I wish my situation was a lot lower key. I mean, obviously my rent was cool, but I'm buying all this stuff. I'm like, I got cable.
She had cable the first day.
First day
she
Well, that was my daddy fault why I had cable.
Why?
Because when he went to return the U-Haul, this is in London now. He went to return the U-Haul. At the U-Haul place, they was offering
selling
cable.
Yeah,
they selling cable out the U-Haul place. And
that's
he's like,
crazy.
hey, yo,
he's gonna set it up.
What? I'm like, oh, bet.
Wow.
So how much is it? They like, yeah, it's like an $85 install. I'm like, oh, bet. And you know, I had younger siblings at the time. They're like, we need a Wi-Fi code, blah blah blah. I'm like, who are you even talking to? You're 7.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
That's hilarious.
And so, but it's like, you know, I wish I would have done things differently because, you know, you moved with 2000. I'm talking to Steve. We at a wedding or something? You were in DC for something with me.
Yeah.
And we were walking back. It was, I don't remember where we were. It was like we was at a wedding or something.
I can't remember.
I don't even know why you would have been at this wedding. But I know you were with me, and I was talking to you about it, and I was like, yeah, bro, I done saved up 20 grand, and you sitting there like, oh, you must be fine.
God, 20 grand compared to my
fine. But it's like, I think the 20 grand was also a sense of entitlement to how I was now living, to just do whatever and squander as if when I get here, 2 weeks time, like you said, 2 weeks time, I'm gonna have me at least a church gig or something. You know what I'm saying? And the people I know, niggas I know, I should easily be making $500 to $600 a week.
Yep.
And that didn't happen at all. I'm pretty sure I ended up having to, like you said, Uber. I didn't do Lyft. Lyft was a little scary. But Uber, I was babysitting kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you said, you really gotta go out and get it. Like, you can't have it all. A whole nanny out here, bro.
If it was an enterprise, we would have been back home.
1,000%.
Flat.
You prepare how you want to before you get to a place, but you don't know what the vibe is going to be because you're not there. You know what I'm saying? Until you're actually in it, you know? And so I think it's dope that you did with like seeing your progression from remembering the beginning. And I think that's the dope part about friendship. And that's why I'm grateful to have been a part of your life for 10 years, because the stuff that you're talking about and the stuff that you're seeing and the successes that you had and stuff we used to talk about over a $5 bottle of E&J in the breezeway that me and Steve had to split that $5 and we split a cup.
Like, why didn't somebody just get it when you had it?
Why did we split $5 little personal bottle of E&J? But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's stuff that you talk about, and it's like, I feel like it's hard to, well, let me not say it's not hard, because for me, I've maintained a lot of my friendships that I've had for a long time. And I had a friend, one of my newer life friends, like, you got a lot of friends? And I was like, I want to say I got a lot of like close friends, but it's like Michelle Obama talked about this on her special for her last book, where she's like, I have a lot of friends because they're from different areas of life. They're from different moments in life. And so, you know, I have my childhood friends, like I got Danae Lauren Tamara. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been here my whole life, the entire life. You know what I'm saying? Then I move into college and I meet you, Mayor, Matt, Corey. You know what I'm saying? Now you have that core group of people that are part of your life. Then I relocate and move to Atlanta. Now you got, you know, London. You got Gigi. Well, I've known Gigi since I was 13, but we didn't become friends when we moved to Atlanta. I've known her my whole life too, but we didn't become friends, so we both moved here. So you got you got, you know, all these different people all the different couples that we're now connected to, all that different stuff. And then we get into business. So I have my friends that understand, like, it's hard to have a conversation about our business at the time with people who aren't immersed in that culture. You just don't. I could tell you all day, but you might not really get what I'm talking about. You might not get where I'm coming from. And so I think it's really, really dope when you can maintain friendships as adults over time, because there's this culture that has been created that it's like sometimes you need to let go of your date runs. Your date twos might change your life. Like, yeah, but like it was dudes that used to be like, if I can't build with you, if you can't come build this business with me, I can't chill with you. I'm like, I don't like that. Because I want, if anything happened to all this and all y'all who was conditional relationships, I have people that still gonna have my back, who have had my back in my highs and in my lows, who knew me when I didn't have nothing, when I wasn't nobody knew my, like those people, because when they see your successes, it's that much sweeter. And so like, I remember the bed, I remember the move, I remember the struggles, I remember the first gigs, and to see how you've elevated and who you've become.
You know what's crazy? Because back then it didn't seem like niggas was living in poverty. You know what I'm saying? Like
self-inflicted.
It was like, yo.
But that's the thing.
You know, it was like Steve got a crib. We going to see him in his crib.
Pull up at Steve.
I'm not thinking like, no, this shit is not sweet.
And you just was saying he was in every one of y'all cribs.
Literally been in every one of y'all cribs.
All 9 of them.
Literally, we move every year. Moving again.
Moving for the 6th time.
But it's crazy you just said self-inflicted, because I even think about like, nobody forced you to move to Atlanta. Nobody forced me to move to LA. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, and with me, I'm like, I had a car in Chicago. I had certain things. It's just like, what? And I literally left all that to get on the bus, to not have a bed. It's just like for a dream, for something you really want. And that's why I'm like, my biggest thing now is like, you can't teach anybody how to want it. Yeah. Like if you want something, you're gonna go get it. You're gonna figure it out on the way. Literally. Like nobody can make you want it.
Let's talk about when you started getting some traction. Like, what was your first, you would say, real gig in LA?
So speaking of the trip, before I get to the gig, the traction was, shout out to me and my brother Calvin, because he's so much a part of this story too, because we were like living like, it's kind of like savage when you think about it. It's like, because you notice between a need and a want real quick. So like all the necessities that we have in our home. So like even Wi-Fi, that's like, granted, if you work from home, you need it, but like
that's a want.
It's a want. You don't need it. Like, because I used to walk to Starbucks every day. You know what I'm saying? So it's possible. You know, you're not going to die if you don't have it, you know? Right. So it's like, you notice that. So even in how we was moving, it's just like, okay, if we don't need to spend money on that, if we don't need that, we good. We focus on this. We focus on practicing at home, or, you know, figuring out what's the mood this week as far as jam sessions or open mics. Or did you hear back from such and such? It was like, we really adapted like an athletic mindset. And granted, me and him was in high school together on the drum line. He was my drum major. Like, oh, wow. And so just us having that history. And then on top of that, it's just like, it was just easy to live together. You know what I'm saying? You can't live with everybody. Yeah. You know, especially that close. That's very true. You know what I'm saying? In a 1-bedroom, you can't do that. So it was really sweet. And I feel like God like really took care of that situation. And so it was just the grind, you know, the everyday, you know, encouraging each other, pouring into each other, going out into the world and figuring it out. And that led to my first job there was America's Got Talent. Okay. So at that time, I didn't even know that they have like professional singers come in to like amp the performance. So if one of the contestants wants like background singers or wants a choir, we in there, you know what I'm saying? And that was my first time seeing what TV money is and residuals and like all that, you know? So I was like, what is this? What is this? And the guy that hired me for it, I immediately told him, because I did a few more things with him after that. I was like, I want to do what you do, bro. I want to hire singers. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to do this, you know? And so that kind of started the journey of where I am now. But it really started, you know, yeah, that was the first main thing. But getting out around the city is just like, that's a whole thing in itself. Because LA is so spread out.
It is, bro.
And it's like, yeah, it's just,
it's fucking
it's, if you don't have a car, it's like, well, you really got to figure it out. I was on like, depending on how far stuff was and how much money I had, I get on a bus, train, take an Uber a little bit, get back on the bus, like, depending on how far I gotta go. Like,
right.
But it's just like crazy to have to even do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a.
How about when you started singing? Because you started singing for a commercial at one time. How did you get that?
Oh yes.
Yes. So that was.
How the hell right, he was singing for Jared, wasn't he?
That
During Christmas
holiday
time.
season, you saw Steve on TV.
I want you to talk about that, but I also want you to talk about the business side of that, like how that works as far as residuals.
Yeah. So 2019, Jared the Jeweler. So I don't have a agent, a commercial agent or anything. I was in it with two other brothers that I had, and one of them has an agent. So they get sent emails for different casting calls and everything. So at this time, they were looking for singers for a commercial. Of course, in the description, it's very vague. It's never, we need singers for a Jared Jeweler. It's never that. It's always very subtle. So actually, it was a few rounds of auditions. I think they auditioned with another group of people. It was like a few women involved as well. But I guess they swapped that out, and just so happened it became us three. And so it was a few rounds of auditions, and it was mainly a thing of them. So they wrote the songs and they wrote how they saw it.
The jingles?
But the jingles, yes.
Okay.
But it's just so funny how white people interpret blackness and black sound and black music and all that. So, you know, they're giving us the text and everything, the lyrics they want us to sing. The director's like, yeah, can you, that was good. Can you give me a little James Brown? a little Isaac Hayes.
They really talk like
bro,
this?
like,
oh my God.
But it's like, it's so funny because just during that time, it was easy to go through that process because at the time I was doing Kanye Sunday service. So at that time, we like literally cranking out, like changing stuff on the fly. All right, go back to this, change this. It was like, okay, you got to be ready for whatever. So that kind of prepped us for that position, but it was just the thing. We were singing live too.
So you were singing the jingles live?
Singing the jingles live too. Wow. So
I didn't know that.
That was a thing. And having to execute like that on camera and just be on, it was just a different experience and a dope experience that I definitely cherish because that was a good time for the residuals too.
Yeah, talk about the business.
So from what I understand, and this was I think the agent gets a certain percentage. I want to say like 10% or something like that. Because I wasn't signed to her, she only took 5%. So I'm getting checks like maybe because this is a national commercial,
right?
Like a national.
My mom called me. I think I seen Steve on the commercial. I said, "Mom, you did."
Literally national. I knew it was national when I was in Wyoming.
Oh wow!
In a hotel, and it came on the TV.
I saw it everywhere I went. Every time I was watching anything.
Yeah, especially because that was Christmas.
Yeah, but because it was, well, you got to think they started playing it during, like, right after Halloween. Prepping for it. So
prepping for that season
from Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, and then all the way going into Christmas, and then they ran it back for February.
Yeah, and so we actually did 2 sets of different things, and it was cool to see that process because now when I look at commercials, I'm like, okay, this is probably how they did it. So I want to say the first one was Christmas time, so we did like the full version of the scene of, I think it was us in a restaurant or something like that, and then they just cut that into like shorter clips, like 15-second, 25-second, full 35-second or whatever. So it's just cool to see how that happens. And then the second time we did it, we did the concept that they created, but then we just did like an evergreen. They call it evergreen, so it's like they can show it any time of year, you know, regardless of holidays or whatever.
Do you check it anytime they show it?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. It was a good time. And that's why I'm like, the pandemic really came and messed it up, because we were supposed to come back and do some more. But man, what a time.
Damn.
That's crazy.
It's like when so many things are happening and it's just going fast at the time, it's just like, I'm thankful, but am I really understanding like the magnitude? Because I was making a lot of money that year.
Yeah. You had moved out of that one bedroom.
So that was the year before. I was just getting off tour with B, and
get to that too. Dang.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that too.
We done got to the middle of the story.
Yeah, this is the middle.
Dang, I didn't even know. I'm thinking okay.
So I want to preface that with like, so the first time we had just started our business as well, things were starting to move for us, and we had went to Vegas, and we had went to Vegas and for a business trip, and I'm like, well, LA only 4 hours away. Let's go see if we can go see Steve, because like at what point would we ever be on the West Coast? And obviously we were in the same boat of like, it ain't sweet right now, you know what I'm saying? So we more than halfway here. We not gonna have no money to just come out here on our own. So let's make use of this trip,
right?
And take this far out. That was the dumbest and smartest thing we ever did, because we had to drive back because our flight was the next day, the next morning, and we almost died on the way home. I mean, died on the way back to Vegas. Because I think we were waiting on you to get out of rehearsal. You were in rehearsal that whole
I literally only
day.
saw y'all when y'all first got there. Man.
And when we left. Like you were literally pulling into the garage. Like, all right, y'all, drive safe. But I remember something in particular when we came to your apartment, because a lot of people will talk about, you know, I think one of the things we preface and that we take pride on talking about on our show, and the reason why we want to feature our friends, because we believe we have some of the dopest people in our lives that need more shine. Now y'all seen him 100,000 times on your stories. When anytime that video resurfaces every 12 days and somebody posts it, you'll see it 100,000 more million times.
What video?
Sunday service when we was in Paris.
Sunday service.
Yes, it comes up at least every 12 days.
We just want to drop it in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on there. Oh, they're gonna know. But I say that to say, I remember when we came over to your house that day, seeing your vision board, and a lot of people, you know, I feel like we make them, but how intentional are we with the wording on it? And I remember specifically on that board, it said, go on tour with Beyonce and go on tour with Kanye, because Kanye was your favorite artist. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's lit, that's dope, that's done. Like, you in there, like, blah, blah, blah. And you were about to come to Atlanta to visit us. Like, we had plans to do, I don't know what we were doing. Y'all know how we get, but you were supposed to come to Atlanta, and you called me like, yo, bro, I'm not going to be able to come. And I'm like, what, nigga, you about to go be on tour with Beyonce or something? That was my literal response. Like, was that not
you literally said.
And he just sat there like, I won't be able to make it. And then, like, obviously after that, this was Coachella, I think. Yeah, I don't think it was the tour yet. It was Coachella, and he was like, yeah, I got this gig or whatever, so I'm gonna have to go into rehearsals, blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna be able to come out there. Then this nigga's on Coachella. Talk about the truth behind that story that people don't know, right? About how you actually came about for that gig.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
So what's crazy? So the year is 2018. I had just finished. Well, I had just quit my job at Reseda High School in 2017, like November.
Were you a principal?
No, I worked at an after school program. That was my most consistent job out here. Like,
that's crazy.
I mean, out in LA. And I will always work in education if I need to. If I need a little job or something, education. But it was just, that's a whole nother story in itself too that we could talk about. But transition, I worked at Disneyland for their festival of holiday season, so that was like 3 months. Top of 2018, I'm fresh. I'm a full-time musician. You know, my first time since being out there. Like, okay, I'm in this for real. Maybe like March or something around that time, I get a call from a vocal contractor saying, "Hey, are you available these 2 days in April?" I was available one date, but not the second because I was singing with Kenny Lattimore at the time, and we were supposed to go to South Africa. Wow. So also on my vision board, I'm like, travel to 5 different countries, you know. Wow. So I'm like, I'm gonna check one off right here, like, and I've been wanting to go to South Africa too. So I'm like, yeah, I'm available one day, but not the other. He's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Don't worry about it. That night I had a gig. The girl I had a gig with, she's like, yeah, did such and such hit you about that audition? It was for Beyonce. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why did they just say that? Of course I know now why they ain't say it, but it's like, dang. And that kind of pissed me off a little bit. I got over it. A few days later, I get a text from another friend saying, hey, I just referred you for this big opportunity. Hopefully they reach out. Now, this is somebody that I've worked with in the past on sessions and stuff with, so that's how it works in the industry. So pretty much word of mouth referral is a big way to get jobs, you know. And so I'm like, okay, bet, cool. I didn't ask him who it was or anything. Maybe the day or so after, I get a text saying, hey, you will be receiving an email from the music director, blah, 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 for Coachella rehearsals with Beyonce. So I'm like, boom. So mind you, at this point, there's a whole audition process. There's rounds of people that have been considered for it. And I just walk in on the first day. Like, hey y'all. So I knew a few of the singers that had got hired and everything. So I'm chopping it up with them, and then I see the music director. I go shake his hand, introduce myself. I'm like, hey man, my name is Steve Epting. Thanks so much for having me. Can't wait to, go on this process. So he's shaking my hand, but kind of looking at me sideways, like,
who is this?
He's like, you said your name is Steve Epting? We were actually looking for this guy named Stevie Notes.
Stevie Notes?
I said, well, no, I'm not Stevie Notes. And like, mind you, everybody's looking at us now, so it's like super awkward. So I'm like, so you need me to sing? You need me to like audition right here or what? Like, You're like, no, you good. We'll see how everything pans out. So we finished the rehearsal process, do Coachella, finish Coachella, ended up going into the process for On a Run 2 tour. Going on a Run 2 tour, that's my first tour, my first time going to Europe, my first time out of the country.
Way more than 5 cities.
Way more.
How many cities was it?
He said his vision board said 5 countries.
We did 48 shows. So, and half of that was US, so maybe like somewhere between 13 and 15 countries. Probably more than that.
Yeah, you saying you was in Rome?
Yeah, literally. Like,
that's so crazy.
Bro was literally just calling us like, yo, I'm in the Coliseum.
Like crazy.
What?
The Coliseum?
Yo, I'm in Egypt.
I wish we did go to Egypt.
Yeah, the pyramids, which our ancestors have now built with their hands.
Right. Not with their hands.
That's like what we talked about earlier. But it's just so crazy. Like, I could have never even fathomed.
It's about the fact that you're the wrong guy, and you're the wrong guy, and
but was ready to go.
Not even
ready to go.
That ain't the word. The word is you're the wrong guy, but you're the right guy.
You're right.
Like you're the wrong. Like, this is not who I asked for, and this is what I got. Like, what I asked for versus what I got, and you end up being the right guy because that was your opportunity, whether they asked for you or not. That's where God placed you. You were supposed to be there. You were supposed to get the tour. You were supposed to get all the stuff that you had already asked for because it was already laid out for you, whether they called for you or not.
Yeah.
What did you notice about Beyonce that kind of separates her?
She's been doing this a long time. And I think consistency in this game is what weeds a lot of people out. But also she cares about, not only what's happening, outside the show, but with the show, like she know everything that's going on. Like, from what's happening musically to what's happening vocally to what's happening as far as lighting, staging, like, choreography, what we wearing, like, she's really in tune, and that was, around the time I never saw myself being an artist, until around that time, because I saw it so up close,
at the highest level.
And, being on that tour solidified for me. I had those feelings maybe months prior, and exploring my own artistic, performance style and really just getting out my shell. But that really confirmed it. And I'm like, okay, I see it at the highest level. you know. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
that makes sense.
too.
And then fast forward, you end up on Coachella a second time after that tour.
Coachella second time,
With
2019,
Sunday service.
with Sunday service. So right after we finished Beyonce's tour, we went to India and Dubai. Literally coming back, I'm in a U-Haul, moving into my new place. I had put all my stuff in storage before we left, so I came back just looking to start fresh. In the U-Haul, I get a call from the same guy that actually called me for America's Got Talent. Hit me like, yeah, Kanye wants to start a choir. Need your help getting some voices and everything. We start tomorrow. I think it was like the next day or 2 days after.
That's the vibe.
And that situation was so random because it was only supposed to be one weekend. He wanted to just do positivity. That was the main word that was being used. It was never church. It was never Jesus, God. It was just like, I just need some positive energy, positive vibes.
Right.
You know, so that started with us, you know, just taking, you know, covers of songs or hot songs that were classics or current, and just really tweaking the words to make them all positive. Like, he was super adamant about word choice. He didn't like certain words like no or negative sounding words or
really.
So even just in the music, it was just all positive and, you know, nurturing in a way. And that just continued to morph and snowball until what we know Sunday service is today. And then ended up doing Coachella for the second time. And that was definitely an experience. And at this time, I'm kind of being elevated too.
Right.
So
that's why y'all see him flying in the middle of the second.
I'm being elevated because I was asked to start helping arrange the music for the choir and really assistant director.
How did they know you did that though?
So the same guy that called me for my first job, and when I called and told him that I was trying to do this, so keeping that in mind, he asked me like, yeah, so what are you looking to do? Not knowing, I had to tell him like, oh yeah, Angels of Harmony, like directed that. You know, and I had been directing choir since I was like 10.
Right.
You know, so I had been doing it for a while. But when I first moved to LA, I'm like, I ain't doing that church stuff. You know, even from my artistry, I was just so adamant about my performance style. Prior to that, I had only done praise and worship. Lyrical vessels. You know what I'm saying? That's church. That was it. So I'm like, I can't say I want to do mainstream stuff and just be up here like, giving the, you know what I'm saying? So I was literally pushing myself. Like every time I performed, you know, I tried new things. I wasn't afraid to like fail in front of an audience. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm singing, so I don't care, you know? And I feel like people respect that because some people wish they could do that, you know? And so all that to say, I forgot my point, but.
That's all right.
But it was, because we were talking about how you started ascending to the leadership role.
Oh yeah, so all that, you know, just leading to a place of you know, conducting every rehearsal. You know, I'm fine tuning the choir. You know what I'm saying? It was a team of us, so I didn't do it all on my own. But I put in a lot of work and a lot of time. You know, and at that time, because I love it so much, and the hours were long, so at times, you know, you are tired, you are weary, but it was just from a place of like love, because I just love doing it. So it's like, it's second nature, like almost first nature in a way, you know? So it's like, at the time, I wasn't looking at it as like sharpening my skills as a vocal producer or like, you know, as just somebody that just knows voices, how to, you know, pick the right voices and how to blend them and how to, you know? And so that at the time, that was a major, you know, teaching moment, you know.
What do you think you learned the most from like that situation with Kanye and Sunday service and being, you know, going from just being kind of like a fly on the wall of watching the artistry and mastery of Beyonce to now like being a part of cultivating what that was that Kanye created?
It's a different experience coming from her, you know, as a professional hired musician. You come in, you do your job, you go home.
Right.
You know, that's the job. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't have no problem with that. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do what I do, and we gonna keep it pushing.
Right.
You know, And with this, it was a little more hands-on, and he was a different type of artist too, because she's coming correct every time. Not saying, and correct is, I'll use it loosely. And when I say correct, I mean
it's already done.
It's structured. Yeah. It's well rehearsed. Everybody on stage knows what's going on.
Right.
Like, everybody. Him, he's so different. He won't feel. He won't like raw emotion. And a lot of times, raw, you can't connect or give raw emotion if you're super rehearsed or super, because it's not like, it's something about that first take when you recording like a video or something, or you doing something for the first time that's like so raw and you're so vulnerable, because there's a level of unknown to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was him. He didn't mind switching up stuff, taking out stuff, adding stuff, you know, at the last minute or beforehand. So it really showed me a different side of creativity because it's not boxed.
I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw Sunday service was, I don't know why we were in DC.
Yeah, we went to DC one. Yeah.
Y'all were at Howard, and you called me like, yo, you at home? I need you to come to this. Like, we in Howard tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, say less. Like, we in there. And it was like a sunrise service. It was like, I think it was like 7, 8 o'clock.
We literally sound checking at like 4.
Oh my Christ. It was early, but I'm like, my dog out there. I gotta go support my boy. He outside. I'm gonna make sure that I'm in there. But I like from what you're saying in regards to like the raw emotion and that connectivity of it, especially with the conversation we had at the beginning when Malcolm was talking about like spirituality and relationship with God and like growing up in the church. And at that point I knew I was giving wayward soul. At that time it was giving like, I go to church, like I said, I was in a place where I go to church and get paid. I am your employee. Do not treat me as a congregant. Do not treat me as a member. Do not treat me as a friend. I am your employee. Pay me. And that's all I really cared about, 1,000%. Like, that was why I showed up to church. I was not in my rights, what I knew, you know, or what you consider like knowing, growing up or whatever, what I had been pretty much cultivated to do my whole life. And I would never forget, I remember being there and I'm like in tears, like this is so raw. And I think what's interesting now that there's so many celebrities, so to call it, or influencers that are coming out about God. Like they're literally, you got B. Simone, they go to our church.
Yeah.
Who else you got? You got Alexa Scott. She was on Love and Hip Hop or something like that. And now she's reclaimed her life and, speaking about her relationship with God and how she's been reborn and etc. You got even Angela White, formerly known as Black China. You had Kanye was also very pinnacle in that from that level of celebrity. And I think what was really, really interesting that I saw is that there were so many people condemning him for doing gospel because of what he had previously done. And I'm like, but ain't that what it's all about? And I think a lot of people judge things and they're not willing to be participants of it, to see it for what it is. And of course, like I'm like, I support this because it's my bro, but like, what's the vibe for real? And I remember being in it and I'm like, this is really so God. Because it's not curated, it's not normal, it's not church. And I went to church right after that. That's the thing. And what happened for me is I went to church following that, and it wasn't the same vibe. It wasn't the same feel. I did not feel the same level of connectivity standing in the yard on a park bench trying to see that I did when I went into those 4 walls of what is, can sometimes be so traditional or so, it was just so raw. You could just you have fun. Like fun in church is like was forbidden. Like the way that you see praise and worship, like, and I can appreciate like church now, especially the church that we attend, is like you couldn't run across the straight stage as a worship leader back in the day. We was out there doing it. Like you stand in place, you sing your song, you clap your hands, you might get a little bounce. If we pull up videos of us singing in college, you're not about to get running around and nothing like that. Like
not at all.
The feel, like that's how I feel in the moment. That's what I'm gonna do. Like literally last week I was jumping at church and they're like, "Is she pregnant for real?" Because she's not giving pregnant energy at all. Like the fact that you have that much energy to be present and giving the emotion and the feeling to not just sing what you're feeling, but to show like, yo, this song got me hyped.
Yeah.
This makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I thought that y'all brought to that was so different from being somebody who's been in church, being somebody that's done praise and worship, being somebody that's been singing for the Lord my whole life. It's like, how can we be genuine? Because it don't always feel like precious Jesus, how I love you.
Yeah.
It don't always feel like as the dead, all the glory.
What?
Literally 2 years straight, every single Sunday.
No, but like literally, that's how I want to be. Like I want to feel it every time. Like I want to feel it in my body. I want to be present in it. Like every time I open my mouth to, use the gift that God has given me, whether it be for God or not. I just love that feeling. That's where I feel like I feel the most alive. Yeah. And especially doing, Sunday service when it's for God, it's it's right on that.
I'm married to the right thing right now.
And I think that's the biggest thing. If anybody stepped out, and doing anything Christian or proclaiming Jesus is King, like that's literally the title. You know what I'm saying? So that was in a lot of people's faces, and knowing his past and his history, like some people don't want to hear that anyway.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this another thing, this another, publicity stunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it was definitely a moment in time. I know that the pandemic really came in, shut the world down and everything. But I was just so proud and so happy, for just being able to be in something that's influencing people.
I don't think you realize you're a part of history.
Like real life.
That's like a whole part, moment in time that 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line. People
even
go
now,
back to that.
But even to this day, it's like, to this day, because we're going to resurface every 12 days for the next 100 years.
Literally.
That same video. But it's like, like when people, sometimes somebody called me recently and was like, yo, Brett, I want to do this. I want to do like an event at this spot, blah, blah, blah. I want the Sunday service vibe. Like it's thing.
Oh, that's definitely a thing.
Everybody says
but
that.
You think like you have now, like you were a part of now. It's like creating a sound that people like. Oh, if I like praise this was given Sunday service, like just
definitely, it was heavily inspired too. And it's so funny because when I did the premiere party in LA, I got a group of singers together and produced a performance. But actually watching it, they sang "Cause You're the Only One," and I was like, "Oh snap,
that's me."
That's crazy. Yes. But even it being LA, they play it at parties, bro. Like it'll be at the club.
That's
and I'm
crazy.
Cause you're the
that's me.
Power.
It's literally crazy.
Can save this world today.
Come on.
Power. That can save this world today. Which one?
Yeah,
I used to like to switch it up.
You did a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But you had the other one.
That was my first one. But like even that, like just so fun. Like man, like I don't claim to be the best singer. I don't claim to be the most skilled or whatever, but you ain't never finna out-sing me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean, having an athletic mindset when we first moved there. Like, I don't care what time of the day it is.
That's the Chicago.
It's go time. It's definitely Chicago too. Like, it's just how it is. Like, if we gonna do it, let's do it. You know?
You wanna sing off?
Hey! So, a quick story. We sang at Brittany Church when we had our group in college, our gospel group.
What was it called? Lyrical Vessels?
Lyrical Vessels. And niggas did not want to rehearse. I'm like, I literally asked them, I'm like, y'all trying to suck up there? I said, do y'all want to suck today? I literally said like,
why did you say that?
Because niggas was trying to color their hair that day. Like,
they was doing a lot.
It was a lot going on.
And the notes wasn't together.
No, I'm talking about like the group members were trying to just do too much.
Oh man.
And that's why Steve took the performance over. And
hey, I was directing in.
Joe Jackson. I'm sick of this.
I'm tired of digging these holes, Grandpa. Basically, but I think it's really, really dope what you have been able to create. Like, you know, I feel proud to be shooting. I was shooting with you in the gym.
Definitely was shooting.
I was out there when he was, listen, they call me the person with the archives. I'm the friend that has all the things we have ever
She got all the embarrassing stuff.
Like, but I don't think it's embarrassing. It's like I love to listen to it, to listen to
the progression.
Yeah, from whence we came.
Evolution.
Like, even that, if you're saying like I was helping write that stuff, I was helping, like, our backgrounds back in the day were garbage. Like, why did we, like, this don't even
that don't even make
this
sense.
don't even make sense. Like, literally, and we out here like, oh, this is fire. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's still a building block to get to where you're going. And I think the messaging from this is always like to be persistent, to believe in yourself, but to also be willing to master your craft and go through that process, because your process didn't start when you got to LA. Your process started at 10 years old when you started directing the choir. Your process then elevated when you became the choir director at Angels, but in that you were actually having to now, I'm creating this sound. We're going to perform an original that, like,
and arranging, like that was I was just starting to arranging hymns, like that university choir, Angels of Harmony and Turning Point. Like I arranged for both of them.
So it's like you were already doing that.
Speaking of that, because y'all need to talk about this Grammys thing. Not thing, but the Grammys. You know what I'm saying? Like how did you get the call to to be the gatekeeper, and
I hate gatekeeper
for Lizzo? You know,
that would make sense, because he already said when I first got to LA, I did my first gig for her. I said I want to do what you do. So like, you know, I know it's not being extra, but it's like you already you spoke into existence. Like you are literally like living a life of fulfilled vision in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like you're living a life of proclaimed like, this is what I want. This is what I want to have. This is what I want to do. And that is now you. But back to what you said.
Yeah, like how did you get to the Grammys? Because I know you've done it before, but how did you now become a director and direct a whole choir for somebody in the Grammys? How did that happen?
So funny thing, going back the year prior, 2022, I had done the Grammys with John Legend.
Right. Oh, and that was another
Shut up. I knew you said
you love
Before he gets to John Legend, John Legend came and did this thing one time at Dell State. Did you come with us when we went to Dell State?
No.
You ain't come?
I don't think I was there.
We probably didn't have enough room in my van.
In Bird.
I was probably in practice.
Probably. Michael and Cooper, we were out here la-lying. And so John Legend came to Dell State. So we love John. Like, this is when what was that album that came out around that time?
What's it?
Love from the Future?
Yes.
And so he's out, but we're thinking it's going to be like a concert.
Right.
It's like a panel discussion.
He was there for like the Democratic National Convention or something
like
that. It was very political.
I don't even know what he talked about the whole time. I don't know why he was there.
He talked.
And then he took questions, and we're like, Steve, you gotta go. You love John, you gotta go.
You love John.
Steve asked, get up there. Hello, John. Yeah, John, hello, this is Steve. I said, are you giving him a voicemail?
Bro, I could not get my sentence together.
We talked about that the whole ride home, bro. Like, this nigga got up there and choked and left John
in front of thousands.
Left this man a live voicemail. Hello, John. Yes, this is.
And it's so funny because he was probably like, all this political stuff I done said, and you done asked me about some music.
Because
I was like, how does an artist, or how does it? So dumb, like.
Oh man,
bro, that was so funny. I knew you was gonna bring that up when I said John, but that was even full circle because I feel like in ways John taught me how to sing. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to listen to his stuff so much.
He
like
used to do the fashion show. He was the music for the fashion shows in college, and all his repertoire was John Legend.
Pretty much all John Legend. Like so that was just even crazy being on the Grammy stage with him, and it was so fun. And the group of people that we did it with, like he wanted like. It was just a good time, you know. So transitioning to this year, I did Dubai with Beyonce earlier this year, and
she got a bag. It was great.
Go.
I heard
we were there, and Lizzo's music director was also in the band. So we were just chopping it up, talking about some music, you know, talking about other stuff. And we were like, yo, I might need you, Lizzo looking for a choir. You know, for the Grammys. I'm like, all right, bet. So in music talk, a lot of times that can be a thing or it can't.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times it has to do with the source. This is a good source, so I wasn't like planning like this ain't gonna happen. But a lot of times it may not happen due to like budget reasons or creative switch ups or whatever. But it came through, so bet we got it started. And at the time, I think they wanted like 50
you had
black
hit me
women.
up before.
Yes.
You hit me up you were on your flight coming back from Dubai. Like you were low, I can hear the voice note be playing.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, cause you had been calling me. And I'm like, what is wrong? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because we were on 2 different time zones because you were still in Dubai. So I'm like, nigga, you're calling me at like 3 in the morning. Like, what? Are you alive?
I was so out of it.
Are you okay? He's like, yeah. I'm about to board my flight. I'm about to take off from Dubai, but would you be interested in possibly doing the Grammys? And I'm like, we were at a hotel, and I said, I went to the bathroom and I just sat on the toilet like.
Not on the toilet.
Well, I mean, it was also 4 a.m.
Oh, God.
Morning tinkle. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, that would be lit. Oh well. Because I'm like,
and I think how I phrased it was like they're looking, but we don't know. Just be on standby.
Literally.
Because I know how it is, and I don't like getting people hyped for something and it don't fall through because I know how quickly this stuff can change. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, you got to be ready to go, like because things can happen fast. So I ended up hitting Britt, our friend Mare, and my sister, and we were all, you know, I know all of them have sang their whole life. You know, we did Angels and stuff together. So I'm like, I need my people on here, you know. And being in that leadership role, I even started to understand my power even more. Like, because at the point, you know, I had helped, you know, pick a good number of the voices, you know, but you know, there was some ins and outs with certain people, and you know, I had to flex like the leadership stuff. And it was just like, okay, all right. It's like, don't be scared. Like, it was just affirming for me, you know, in that role, you know, because sometimes coming in with different teams and stuff is just interesting. But it's like, nah, show up as you in every room. Yeah.
I mean, you're also 6'6", so that helps too.
And you can't hide that. Ain't no hiding when I walk in the room.
Yeah, right.
You know, especially with my hair out, there's no hiding, you know? So, literally the day before we started rehearsal, or literally the day before I started rehearsal, I already had them in a group chat, like
stand by,
because I had already told them like, sorry y'all, maybe next time it ain't gonna work out. So I hit them, and I know all of them at work, they doing stuff, and I'm like, can y'all get to LA tomorrow? We got rehearsal.
Right, it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It's literally Tuesday.
They gotta be in LA by tomorrow.
By tomorrow for rehearsal at 11.
For rehearsal
at 10.
Yeah, it was like early.
Yeah, it was early. But that's not even how he said it. It was like, stand by, could come back.
Because I was literally on the phone, like, texting and emailing, like.
All right, y'all get ready. Like, it's
book your flights.
It's
go book it.
Hold on, wait. All right, cool. Call me when you get to the house. And I'm like, nigga, what? Like, he's like, it's a go. Y'all, I need y'all in LA tomorrow. Rehearsal starts at 10 o'clock. Like, and I'm like, bro, what? Jesus I'm literally Christ. Talking to Malk and like,
we got kids.
Right.
A son, I'm breastfeeding, and I'm like,
yeah, that's true. You was breastfeeding.
Because you had already told me, so I already knew how long it was going to. Like, I'm like, y'all about to go to LA for 5 days. Like, I've never been away from my family for that long without knowing I'm going.
Not no fly by night, like.
No, this is get a flight to LA tomorrow morning. So, and this is it was 3 p.m.
This is why picking your partner matters. Picking the right partner matters.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you could have been like,
what the fuck is you doing?
Right.
And his response was like, you have to go. Like
you can't not go. It's the Grammys.
It's the Grammys. Like that was his only response. Like, it's the Grammys. Like, it don't matter what it takes, how to get there. Have you looked at the flights? How much they cost? What we got to do? Blah blah blah. Don't worry about it. I got everything. He was just go.
That's dope.
Yeah,
it matters. It matters, and I think it was so solid for me. It's like I ain't got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? Like, go. And you like, I ain't got nothing to worry about. Y'all
come stay with me. Here. You know, y'all got a place to stay.
I'm gonna ride you around. I gotta be there anyway.
You know,
pull up. We're gonna be learning the music. Like it was just like a say less. it was interesting for me because I've been so removed from the music world for so long, like choosing entrepreneurship from a traditional business standpoint versus what I had been doing for so long with y'all, which was music. You know what I'm saying? For years, it was just music. And then I moved here, started working at a studio. Like, I'm doing music business, music marketing, blah, blah, blah. And then literally just stopped for 7 years.
Yeah.
And so to get that call, I'm like, oh, the nigga still trust me.
Brittany used to be making whole ass orchestrations like in her room, bro. Like,
hella musical.
No, we definitely
producing and just like all these. So it was like, I was even thanking God during that because I was praying like, God, let this come through. Because it's just like, just what, that just made me feel so good. Like when it went through, it was just like, yeah, my people finna do this. They finna get some shine. You know what I'm saying? Like, and y'all do this. So it's like, it's not like anything far-fetched.
Yeah, facts. No, it was a definitely different experience. But like, even stuff like that though, it's important to know your personnel. I always talk about know your personnel because you gotta also know that your people not gonna take advantage of you because my nigga is, this my nigga. Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's also
we came here to work.
We came here to work. Like, and I respect you and your art and what you're doing and your leadership and all that stuff like that. So like, it ain't. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not speaking on like, not on no like kiddie stuff, but like, sometimes you can feel entitled because the person that brought me here is also the person that's leading everything. So it's like, that don't mean I need to be in the front. That don't mean that I'm, you know what I'm saying? It's it's like, all right, cool. What we got to do? How we got to do? What do you need from us? And then how can we be better? Like, we back in the crib, we rehearsing. All right, cool. He like, that ain't the no. That nigga upstairs in the shower.
That ain't the no.
Like,
yo, Jeff, that ain't no.
That ain't it.
Do it again, Michael.
Okay. He's literally upstairs in the shower. We all downstairs in the kitchen. He's like, that ain't the note. That ain't the note. And I'm like, all right. He like, well, you need to get it right. We about to go record. You know what I'm saying? But I think like even what he was talking about like with Jared, it's like being able to, I'm watching my friend do this for so many years to be on the other end of it, to actually go through the process of it. And then, like he only a part of the vocal aspect of it. Like it was so much more that we actually are in.
Yeah. What can y'all share about the Grammys that people don't know?
I don't know. I think the process is like, I think it's, when you're a consumer of something, it's I'm sure it's the same thing with sports or any level of anything. When you're a consumer, when you're on the lower level of a thing, you are who they're making the product for. And so you can watch it on TV all day long and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's just a different experience to watch it from a professional aspect of it, or even like forget the Grammys. Like let's start with just the artists. Like if you've been listening to somebody or watching them on Instagram or watching their shows, or you've been wondering like he's loved Beyonce, he's loved Kanye his whole life. It's different when you in their world though. Yeah. You're no longer the consumer. You are a part of what people are consuming. Yeah. You're a part of the thing, and so I think it's a different. I don't want to use the word pressure because obviously you built for what you built for, but it's a different level of like, okay, I can't just be a consumer. Like I have to be.
You can't be you can't be starstruck or nothing like that.
Starstruck, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's the quickest way to get fired.
Trying to hug him.
No, because that's really a thing, and niggas get fired for that. Like you doing too much.
Like having your phone
keep
out.
It cool,
like, here she go. You know what I'm saying? Like but I think the thing about the entertainment world that I learned in that moment is like, I say it all the time, but like viewer discretion is advised. And it's like, by the time we on the Grammys, why you didn't tell me? Like, nigga, it don't work like that. What do you mean, why? Right. Like, it doesn't, like, that's not how this works. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell you I'm out in LA.
Yeah, but
that's
I can't tell you.
I'm on vacation. And it's like, I can't give you all the details, but it's like, I think it's so dope because you're literally a part of, it's like a different world. But the level of professionalism and what you're able to create and being, like you said, flexible, adaptable. We literally did choreography for 7 hours in one day, only for the very next day. Oh yeah, take all that out. And then doing all that and learning a whole new set of choreography for 5 hours just for Lizzo to come in there and be like, yeah, none of that. It's like, and like that, like for me coming back into something could have been frustrating. I'm like, nigga. Like what is going, like pick it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like you just kind of just rock with it. It's like you ride the wave of like what this is because you're a part of creation of something. Like half of the stuff that we saw on the actual Grammys, I'm like, damn, they didn't do that. They didn't do this. We were supposed to be here. Like, it was so much more that we have rehearsed, or that they were going to do, or this was going to be. And it's like, you just adapt to what the vibe is going to be, and then just be regular. I think that's the part of, like, you're going to see these people, but it's like, are you going to act like you shouldn't be in the room? I feel like people that get starstruck on it's like as if I'm supposed to still be the consumer.
Right. That's good.
I'm a part of the art.
That's good.
So why am I looking at you as if, like, it's dope? I mean, I also, you know, I'm in the Lakers stadium where my husband is an avid Lakers fan. So I'm like, this is really dope because, like, I'm walking past the locker room. Like,
I ran that bitch sometimes. Right. You don't care.
Should be circling for me.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more afraid of being kicked off the gig than I am about trying to show what I'm doing.
Dang, yeah, I'd have got you kicked off. I'd have been there.
Hello, LeBron, hello.
I done had a full jersey on there.
Oh,
nice. That's good.
Nigga Malcolm on size 17 shit.
Like, sir, just come on.
Arm band on. I'm ready to go hoop.
But it's so crazy, like, it's so much that goes into a 2-minute, 3-minute performance.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Stuff?
Literally, we did all that in 5 days.
5 days.
And some processes are longer or shorter.
Wow.
Literally. But we did have 5 days to do that. And just going through the artist process. And that's, I can say, for Lizzo, Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Kanye. Like, I feel like they're all different artists, but everybody got their process. Yeah. So it's gonna be they have to see it first.
Yeah.
I gotta feel it. I gotta experience it. You know. I don't really like that. Let's change this, or let's edit this, or let's, it's always gonna be.
She thought we were too theatrical with our movements. Mm-hmm. It's not giving choir. Like, literally, like.
Be good.
And just say we got 19 minutes on.
Oh, that's cool.
You gotta double check the time.
Yeah, it's not giving choir. Like,
yeah.
I wanted to, like, I asked for a choir, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I needed to feel not churchy, but like a choir.
And what was cool to me about the process, in editing my little recap video for that. First of all, seeing the performance and hearing how the sound hit in the stadium, it's just like, I helped create that.
That's crazy.
No, it's crazy, and it's like it's just attesting to my reps that I got in 2019, working with the choir. You know what I'm saying? So it was it's like second nature, and being able to, because I just love vocals and just how it just makes you feel, So really getting into the nitty gritty of like how to pronounce certain words, or when to do this or when to do that, and having it being executed right off top is just like top tier. Like,
it was dope for me to just see you in your element, though. Like I said, like being your friend and being a part of the genesis of like what we did in college and our group, and then being able to watch, like I said, your elevation, your success, and your ascension. It's different to be, in the room watching you work and being a part of what you're creating. That shit was dope for me. Like, I'm like, this nigga is really fire. Like, not because you my mans though.
No,
like,
he really good at what he
do.
Really. I mean,
that
you on people's albums.
Like, you really do it, and I think that it made me proud as a friend, to be a part of it, because you really do it. I'm like, yo, this dude is so much better than even what I feel like, because he's like, this has nothing to do with like you being my friend, or my brother, but I'm like, yo, this dude is really good. Like, that's how I felt the whole time. Like, this dude is really good. And then I got to dance and get, like, that was a whole thing. Like, just being like, anybody who knows me, who's close to me, knows that for my entire time knowing you, I have said I am like top tier worst dancers ever. And it's not even that. And it was crazy because Lizzo's creative director was like, you don't dance? Like, literally said that to me. Like, and I think it's so important to just be sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Just like I say, flow. Because she was like, I put you where I put you because how you look. And not in this is like, you're not in the back, you're not on the bottom. Like,
you was literally like, To
the
Lizzo's
original
left,
shot.
or
Oh
yeah,
my
the
gosh,
original shot.
the original shot, like to Lizzo's left, like that's where, you know, the original shot or whatever. But she was like, I put you there, and I left you there for a reason. One, you tall. Lizzo's tall. Like, you know,
Right.
it needs to make sense.
Yeah.
But she was also like I put you there, I left you there on purpose. Like, if you look crazy, like obviously we would have had to move you. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
It's just like, no, like you don't dance is actually more surprising to me than you do, because you look like you've been doing this. And I'm like, that's just a testament to like just operating in like your vibe, like what he was talking about. Like,
Focus.
I do this.
Yeah.
And I had been so out of practice. I think that was more nerve-wracking for me, of like, all right, well, how many slide some oil to these vocal cords, you know what I'm saying? Because especially my bones. Because 30 knees and
30 is
dancing
definitely
another
different.
vibe.
It's definitely different.
No, I
Knees
could
hit
definitely tell
different.
you. Listen, G-Rap over here.
G-Rap. No, we ain't gonna
Yeah,
get
we're
into
not even. But how did it feel for you? I guess experiencing what you've been experiencing, but also being able to incorporate like your family.
Man, that was, like I said, like having y'all there was just like literally some of the closest people to me are in the room right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just made me feel like I'm bringing my people up with me, because it's very, very easy to, I can see in this industry, to lose yourself or just go off course.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very adamant about keeping my close family and friend relationships, because at the end of the day, that's all you have.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, a big mission of Live Now, is really capitalizing and like really understanding the relationships you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of times, you know, we wait till tragedy happens to express how much someone means to us,
Mm-hmm.
or the fact that we love somebody, or saying that verbally to them so they can hear it and experience it. And for me, I'm very adamant about, especially when it aligns.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I know it was, marriage kind of just get into the life, but you and Sydney, like, I gotta make provisions. I have a child, you know what I'm saying? So it was different layers, but I just knew it was gonna be, you know, something that we all will remember,
Forever.
you know, forever. And it ain't gonna be the last, you know? So it's just very important to me. And I'm in a place now of, because I feel like I was the person that was so hungry for it, I just didn't know the information.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we used to be in the breezeway, like, how we get to sing at the Grammys? Or how and literally, we just did it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo,
But
that's
you know
crazy.
what's crazy?
Yeah, I did used to say that.
Wrote
literally.
a song about this.
I can't. All right. No.
All right,
All
we're
right.
gonna cut.
This
The nigga said,
this is the part of the show.
I'm hungry for it.
Okay. This get it down.
I'm ready.
Bro,
This
you get on
is
my
the
nerves.
part of the show where we go and talk about our life lessons.
Yes.
I guess I can start with my life lesson from this conversation. Is life has its twists and complete turns, and what you've been doing in one part of your life may not be the same, 10 years down the line. You may be in a whole different realm, but you may go through some stuff, but you typically will always come out better, wiser, and more skilled.
For sure.
From hearing this conversation, you was in a comfortable space, got uncomfortable, to just now blossom it and become more skillful in what your gift was, and now just cultivating your gift even more. So it's crazy to see. That's my life lesson now.
I would say my life lesson is never forget why you decided to start something, because I think like even with the whole Grammy situation, it made me return to like literally my first love, which is music. And like I'm like, yo, I need to be doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to know how I can do this in Atlanta. I ain't always gonna be able to fly to LA on a one day notice.
One day notice.
But how can I curate that and start to rebuild and rebrand that where I am? Because Atlanta is also, a huge place for the same stuff. And so I think it's like never forget like why you started something or where you started, because just because you put it on the back burner for a season or a moment and you do something different doesn't mean that it doesn't have its opportunity and it won't come back full circle in a magnitude like that. And I think what was really, really powerful in that moment for me is like I had literally just decided to make a life pivot. So to have that was kind of like, you know, for me, it was like a sign from God saying like, it's okay. It's okay to stop. It's okay to not do what you've been doing, because there are things that you've done before that might just poof, come back into play and in a very, very major way. And it don't even have to be, you got to start from the bottom. Like for that, it's like it was giving, it's okay to transition. It's okay to do something different, because what you might think you've lost in over time, don't forget I've already built you for those things beforehand. So I was, you know, just stay the course and always remember who you are and why you are and what you've been created to do and the things that you love. Because money ain't everything. Money's wonderful though. Yeah. It's right up there with oxygen too. However, it's also important to find those things that you love and those things that you would do. You know, with the Grammys call, I said, I don't know if that, he was like, well, how much it pay? I don't know. But if it pay nothing, I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Like it's having that kind of level of passion that I'm willing to do whatever, regardless of what the outcome is financially. I want that. I miss that feeling. You get it from stuff that you've been doing for so long.
Yeah. I think my life lesson, and I feel like it's a ever evolving life lesson, is to begin to just know yourself and just like figure out you as a person, even outside of what you do, because you are not what you do.
My God.
You know, yes, I sing and I'm a singer, but that's not everything.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like at a point in my life, younger, you know, I was so immersed in it. It's like music is life. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? That's my everything. But it's so much more beauty to life, and there's so many ways to evolve and progress that you're going to need, you know, if you're in this industry or in entertainment period, because it's a lot of demons. It's a lot of things, you know, coming your way. It's a lot of just stuff, just how the world works,
distraction,
you know, you know, just how everything is set up. It's all a distraction, you know, in a way. So, you know, me moving to LA was the first time I actually got to sit with myself. Prior to the pandemic, where we were forced to sit down. When I first moved to LA, that was my first time like, okay, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you like? Why do you respond this way when you see this? Or why do you know what I'm saying? Like getting down to my patterns, becoming more aware, you know, and I feel like that's just informed me in my art even more. And now I'm in a place of like, you know, just building up myself emotionally, spiritually, you know, financially, like just becoming healthy in all areas, you know, because I can lose my voice tomorrow. As much as I love this, as much as I would do it to the day I die, I can lose my voice tomorrow. What else do I have?
Wow, that's deep.
What else am I bringing to the table? Because I'm at the point now, it's like, this ain't my only gift. You know what I'm saying? This is the only thing God has blessed me with. So I have to, in music now, you really got to use everything you know, because it ain't enough money just in singing no more. So
hey,
you
I
just
come
got
out sound like Mariah Carey. I know, man. Now this has been another one.
Yes.
Another episode.
Tell everybody how they can find you, how they can connect with you and listen to your content. He got some dope music, dope projects, but you can tell everybody like what you're working on and where they can find you, what they can consume.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at need4_Steve, NEEDFOR_Steve. You can also follow me on Instagram for my brand page, Live Now Culture. And this is my baby, my mission, to really feed into and pour into the full artist, you know. Yes, skill-wise and learning the business and understanding how to navigate this industry, but also your mental health, your wellness, the wellness outside of when you're not touring, when you're not gigging, like, you know, how's your mental state? How's the rest of your life? And so I'm beginning to speak to a lot of those things. And I have a lot of amazing projects coming up that I want you guys to be in tune with. So feel free to follow.
Awesome. Well, you can follow me at Brittany Danelle on all platforms.
You can follow me at Malcolm_2_Garrison on IG.
And you can follow the show at So Let's Talk About It Pod on all platforms as well. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate and review. Because when you rate and you review our show, it allows us to get more visibility, so we can share our message, share our stories, and be able to impact the world the way we want to with our voice. So we appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.